They need to have both good communication qualities, a good understanding of digital marketing, and depending on the size of your team, they may have to be doing it all as well.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of More Than Marketing. I'm your host, Arsha Mirsha. Today, we're talking about the qualities to look for in a great marketing manager if you have a marketing manager in-house on your marketing team or coordinator, or if you're working with an agency, what to look for in your account manager. Now, I have with me Josh Muskin, my main man, Josh Muskin. He leads our account management team here at Web Mechanics. So, welcome, Josh.
Happy to be here.
Hell yeah! Tell me your background, man. What's happening?
Well, my background is this company.
Okay.
Mainly.
Right.
So I've done a little bit of everything here, except probably development and design, mainly because they don't let me.
You did at some point though, if I remember
most
correctly.
likely.
And you've been here what, 8 years now?
This will be 8 in September.
That's, I mean, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you for the loyalty, but that's almost 10 years in the field. So you know your stuff.
I've done a thing or two.
Yeah, I would agree. So now you're doing, now you lead the account management team. What happened? You gravitated towards that?
Yeah, it was one of those things where when I first started, it was a little bit of everything. We were talking to our own clients, doing our own reporting, doing the campaigns themselves. And over the years, one of the things that I really found a passion for was translating all of the really nitty-gritty, complicated things we did into solutions for business problems that clients could then understand, get approval on, and move forward with. So, over time, just kind of through giving other people feedback and building a team more apt for that type of communication, we now have an accounts department.
And so that I want to dig into that because what you said is interesting. It's, when you first started, you were probably, if I remember correctly, just doing the work, right? Someone was like, "Hey, do this thing, write this content, optimize this page, deploy this paid campaign," right?
You got it.
And so that's like all you were doing in year one, let's say.
Probably 2 too.
Okay. And then what happened?
So then it was, okay, you've done a lot of this. You probably know all the details better than whoever was doing the explaining on the phone first. Why don't you cover this part of the call because you have all the answers.
Right.
To that,
so you were probably dragged in on calls, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Right. So to kind of accelerate the idea here for the listener is that why don't you do it? What's the big idea here? What are we talking about? We're looking for qualities of marketing manager or account manager. Tell me.
They're different titles, and they're different because one's more associated with internal, one's more associated with an agency, but we kind of require and expect them to have a lot of the same traits. So if you were to think that you're a director of marketing or a CMO and you're looking to hire someone to help you with marketing internally at your company, you're probably going to be looking for someone who has some broad experience across all the different options and avenues that you have in digital. They certainly need to be able to report to you what they're doing and do so in such a way that you can then take it and report it back to maybe your CMO or the board or whoever. So they need to have both good communication qualities, a good understanding of digital marketing, and depending on the size of your team, they may have to be doing it all as well. So they may have to understand things like the platforms, the ever-changing bits of technology that we're constantly dealing with, and be really interested in not only just learning it, but also taking it, testing it, executing it, all against something that is not a digital marketing goal, but it's a company goal. Maybe it's revenue, maybe it's number of deals, and they have to know how to get from click-through rates all the way to dollars made.
I think that's the most important part is connecting the campaigns that we're doing in marketing to the actual bottom line, and knowing that the work that we're doing in marketing, there's probably another step between what we do and it showing up on the bottom line, or not one step, maybe many steps. For instance, sales. For instance, delivery of the product or the service. Right. So I think the best marketing managers or account managers understand the business, or understand that there are other steps to the business, other functions that need to know what marketing is doing, and then marketing needs to know what they're doing also. So how can we test for that, I guess, right? Like, how can we, if I'm a CMO and I need to hire, or I have someone, how do we, I agree, they need to have that communication skill. They need to know what's possible, what's not possible. They need to be able to report, up and down and sideways. So, but how do you test that they I don't know, have done the work.
Made it all the way through. I mean,
Yeah, or can relate to the business, you know.
Yeah, I mean, one good question, especially if you're someone in a position where you haven't been in the platforms, you're probably not going to have a lot of back and forth in something like an interview asking about which buttons you click to enable which features.
Right.
So one interesting question would be, if you know that this is our goal, this is our customer, this is the type of person who buys from us, talk to me about how you would go almost backwards from that person to what needs to happen in sales, what kind of lead needs to be generated, what kind of campaigns can generate that lead. Because you'll get a lot of insight into people who can say, okay, I know that if we need this person, this demographic, I can give you someone similar to that. Here's the qualification sales is going to have to do, and here's how I can give you leads that sales then is able to qualify.
I like that question. You're reverse engineering, and then what you're doing is you're saying, can that person put themselves in the mindset of definitely the buyer, which you need to do as a marketer to get the right message across, but then also in the mindset of the sales team or the product delivery or service, folks, if that exists.
Yeah, there's this historic and really silly battle between marketing and sales.
Yeah, right.
Sales saying, well, the marketing leads aren't good, and marketing saying, well, sales can't close anything.
Right.
But one of the things that has become, I don't want to say easier to do over the years with technology, but it's at least more trackable and more concrete, is sales is saying, here are the requirements that we need, and marketing can then tailor to that. So especially if you're looking for a kind of a one-man show internally, or someone who you're going to have as a liaison externally through an agency, like, they have to be able to understand that they're not just servicing the company, they're really servicing the sales folks in the event that there is a team behind it.
Completely agree with that. They're definitely servicing. Yes, definitely, and that's kind of where now this whole buzz around like sales enablement is coming. Getting the salespeople the right information or content or what have you to, make more, better, faster sales, right? So let's go back to this account management, right? I've seen it. We've seen it because we've worked through partners where the account manager will say, here's the telltale sign of knowing whether your account manager knows. Do you know what the sign is? If you're on the call and you're like, hey, account manager, what about this? What about that? What do they say?
I'll go ask.
I don't know. I'll get back to you, right? Which, look, if they don't know, it's good for them to be transparent and to say, I don't know, I'll get back to you, sure. But if that's the only answer you ever get, that means that they're not intimate with the work or what goes into the work. And really, maybe you've heard this, that I've heard from clients, actually. I'll say I've heard from clients that they say, I don't, who's our account manager going to be? And they're asking because what they said, they don't want the account manager just to be like a shield shielding a production team or the people actually, the experts who are doing the work from the client. You experience that?
They want to know who they can, because that's where the communication happens. Like, if you just think about the telephone game, right? They want to know that that's really the main stop of the telephone. Like, they don't want just a bunch of notes going from person A back to groups B, C, and D because something's going to get lost. So they're mainly interested, especially if it's in the sales process, they want to do a little interview of themselves. Are you going to be able to understand my business? Are you going to know and be able to kind of riff with me on strategy on the phones? And that's really valuable for a client who's going to be paying really any amount of money, going, I know the person I'm talking to is A, going to be able to understand what I want, B, help me translate it into stuff that they can help me with, and C, facilitate all of that internally where I'm not able to.
So here's a quick takeaway for the CMOs or VPs out there. When you're hiring an agency, ask them in the sales process, while the agency's trying to sell you, ask them to tell you who your account manager is going to be. Get that person on the phone. Go ahead and interview them a little bit. Ask them what they've done in your industry or any wins they're proud of or what they've learned in marketing recently. I don't know. That's an idea.
And that person's going to want to be involved at that point in the process. I mean, that's one of the things that our sales team does a really good job of is, hey, this is the person you're going to be working with. There's no bait and switch here. This is the guy. Ask him whatever you want. or this is the girl. She can handle everything you've talked about. Why don't you two sit in a room and talk for an hour?
Right.
So, the person who's going to be inheriting that account is going to be thankful for that opportunity because they'll get a head start on all the stuff that they're going to be dealing with.
And build that bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that's good. That's a good little takeaway there. And then similarly in the interview process, if you're a CMO hiring a marketing manager, same thing. Well, I like your question is like, okay, let's work backwards. And what I think another kind of question, which is similar to yours, would be like, how can we partner with our delivery folks, our service, or product delivery, or product development folks? How can we partner with our sales folks to better our marketing campaigns, right? And then, because that is very similar to your question or the idea I think you were trying to get across, because it's like, okay, makes them have to think in that holistic business view. You know?
Yeah, and it tailors almost probably all of their messaging. If they know the first 6 questions that a BDR is going to ask on a cold caller once they call a prospect back, they can either use those as exclusionary types of targeting.
Sure.
They can pre-ask some of those questions when someone fills a form out, so the salesperson doesn't even have to worry about it. There's all sorts of things that they can do to enable them, because the salesperson who's happy with the leads that they're getting is going to be just thrilled to call every single one of them.
That much more productive, right? And it's sad that there's this kind of like,
it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way. It definitely doesn't have to be that way. So let's be proactive in helping them out. And you're right. Like they can pre-ask. They can use it as criteria. I also would like to hear them say, okay, we can ask our current customers for feedback, right? We can ask. We can do market research. We can ask sales for common objections, put those on our page as FAQs. I don't know, just ideas.
Absolutely.
So what is your team doing then to kind of make sure we're doing this on our side?
Yeah. And the thing that's true about all of them is that all of them came through the ringer of doing all of the execution first. So not only do they have hands-on experience with the platforms, our internal strategies, and the way we handle pairing things like SEO and PPC data together, they've also had to explain it internally a million times.
Yeah.
So by the time they get on the phones with clients, even if the client's industry is relatively new and they have to go through a learning curve to learn who they are, what their competitors are, the lockdown information is what we do, how we do it, how we know it works, and then they really just have to figure out the way of how we combine those things for the client's needs.
Right. So in that sense, I know a lot of the people on your team, and I know that they came up doing the work. Maybe they did it here or somewhere else, but like really, you just look at their resume. I mean, when you're looking to hire on your team, what do you do? You look at the resume. And
we're looking for anything that says, I've physically done this, or I've physically been in charge of coming up with a combination of things. Because one thing that's been or become more apparent over the years is whether you're hiring internally or externally, you want to shy away from potentially just hiring someone with a whole lot of experience in one service line. Unless you're building a team of, I have an SEO person and a paid advertising person, you really want to be asking questions of what's the digital marketing strategy behind all of this, because there's
many scopes.
It does, and it's we always talk about it as levers of which levers do we need to pull to get to whatever the goal is. It's not always SEO and PPC. Sometimes it's 3 other things in different layers of capacity. So it's to directly answer your question, it's do they have experience kind of doing it so they know what the ramifications are of change A versus change B, and have they been in a sort of bilingual environment of
nice.
Using multiple service lines,
Quad lingo,
one,
channels. Yeah, and to your point of levers, also like what levers to use when, how each lever impacts the other.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead. Like for instance, keyword research can span between SEO and PPC, for example.
And to expand on that, organic keyword data went away in 2010 or 11.
Yeah.
But if you're also running PPC, you get that research I mean, not for free, you're
Yeah,
paying for
you're
whatever,
paying
but you,
for it, sure,
you can at
right.
least take it and it applies directly to organic. So
That's
having
true.
someone who understands that both of those things, while they're totally different platforms, totally different data sets, how they can still tie and work together
Yeah.
is imperative to be able to, use one hand to feed the other.
No, I completely agree. That's awesome. And this is to use some of the terminologies like the T-shaped marketer. Can you explain T-shaped?
Yeah, T-shaped marketer, if you think about experience as a width, then you have a little bit of experience in a bunch of different service lines.
Yeah.
So SEO, email, a little bit about development, kind of all the way across.
Design, whatever. Yep.
But you probably know a lot about a few things.
Yeah.
So giving you that kind of cross T-shape.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So that's where, I think we believe that that T-shape gives you that experience and that perspective enough to be able to understand how, what different channels may work, what may not work, depending on the funnel stage or the industry or the what have you. And so that's what that T, the top of the T does. And then the depth is where I can really kind of build a team or do the work or hold accountable someone else doing the work, so not just pulling the wool over my eyes, and right, so I can deeply explain. That's where the vertical point of the T comes from. And I think I know we here are trying to build everyone to have a good T, top of the T at least before they start to go drill down. You're trying to do that on your team too. And I would imagine you'd recommend that
everyone do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a more exaggerated version of that if you're trying to hire the one-man superhero internally, because they're going to have to be pretty deep in
all the things.
All the things.
Right.
So a harder person to find.
Yeah.
But that's going to be more important if they don't have backup and experts and a couple of
Yeah.
places.
Good luck finding. Here's a good combination. Good luck finding a developer who's also an awesome copywriter. Like that's like the two I would just like not see ever. If there is a developer copywriter a hybrid out there, I'd love to meet you.
It.
Careers.web. I'd love to see that combo. That'd be really interesting. I don't know, just making things up. But what else? So what else are we looking for in, or should people be looking for in there? Like it shouldn't be. I think one should also. You don't want to what they call a yes man or a yes woman in this, in other cases, right? Like a yes person, someone who's just like, yeah, whatever you say, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Because at that point, you're driving the ship, and maybe you have the best ideas, maybe you don't, but don't you want someone who's going to be coming to you with proactive ideas? I mean,
if nothing else, someone who's going to force a conversation.
Right.
So you
ask
don't want the
questions.
opposite of that either, right? You don't want no.
Right.
No.
Sure. That's good.
But at least, okay, here's
true.
what I think the outcome of that idea would be. If we integrate this other thing, here's how I think it might change. Will we consider doing multiple? Sometimes the answer is this is what we have to do for, the board demanded it, and here we are. Fine. Cool.
I see that all. We see that all the time.
Sure,
and that's fine. Yeah.
But it's our job, if nothing else, to say, here are the other options you have if we think that other options are warranted, or here are ways where you can enhance that activity with a few other things so that you can make it even more powerful.
And let's make sure we're aligned, right? So here's some other options. Here's what we're seeing. You're telling us this. Is this what you see as the goal? Is this what you see as the milestone? So we can help flesh out the milestones, right? And this goes, again, okay, say you're the CMO or your board says you got to do something. Okay, great. Now you go to your agency or your marketing manager and all right, here's what we got to do. Whether it's an agency or marketing manager or your team or internal or external, you got to make sure that alignment is there. So the brief is a good tool for alignment, to get alignment there. So a good, marketing team or, internally or externally with an agency, you'd see a lot of briefs flying around, right?
And it answers some basic questions, things like budget, timeline, how imperative are results immediately versus a month from now. A good example is someone may say, we really want to target these keywords and we need 10 leads out of this initiative. The timeline question becomes very important because if it's like we need 10 leads by 3 p.m., then it's okay. We're probably going to go something on the paid route versus we 10 leads this month maybe, or eventually would be fine.
Sure.
Then you can potentially bring in some things like SEO, or maybe start to do some email. So it's really important to kind of lock all that down, as you were saying, because the direction you take could be vastly different with one different variable being changed.
That's right. That's good. So to kind of hone it in, right? When interviewing, I mean, how do you want to leave this? When interviewing an agency or when interviewing someone for your team, is that fair?
Yeah.
Then do what?
I would definitely ask questions with them that span sales and marketing, with a real goal in mind.
Yeah.
You probably have one if you're in the hiring process anyway. Here's where we need to be as transparent with that as you legally can, and say, how would you attack this from a sales and marketing perspective?
Yes.
If you're asking them to do something outside of digital, you can incorporate some questions there. But what you should leave with is an understanding of how well they understand how salespeople interact with leads, what kind of information they're going to need to be successful, as well as how they think and talk out loud through their process of picking different platforms or strategies, and how they believe those are going to generate the leads that sales needs to then be able to close, would be a really big one. And the other one that I would encourage you to challenge them to answer, that will be unique a little bit to each business, but challenge their translation ability from the super scientific to what it is that you're going to be able to leverage internally.
Right. What does this accomplish, or why are we doing this?
And it's, can they give it all to you in 2 sentences?
Right.
I have a literal rocket science friend who launched a satellite a couple of years ago, and he said something in basically German to me about what he was doing, and I just kind of looked at him and went, launching satellite. Got it.
Got it.
Cool.
That's all you need to say, man.
And but you need someone who has the ability to do both of those, because they're going to be talking to potentially an outside vendor in the weeds, in the details, but they're also going to be talking to you. Right. You're going to have to know, okay, cool, here is the initiative level, the tactical things they're doing behind it. That's probably good. Now I can go and feed that upstream.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah. So they need to be able to. So this kind of like this. This is kind of the account manager in an agency is playing actually a very difficult job. And I think internally the same thing, the marketing manager or coordinator, whatever the title is, it doesn't matter. The person who's interfacing with the big picture thinkers, and also interfacing with the detail oriented, people who are actually in the platform, writing the copy, pressing the buttons, getting the job done. That is a hard job. And what we're saying, it sounds like, to be prepared for that job, you should probably come up doing that work. But also, while you're coming up doing that work, you should also be kind of understanding how business works. Like, we're not just getting leads because just for the sake of it. We want these leads to close. So it's like a quantity versus quality game, for example, right? They need to understand that. They need to understand, profit margins per product line or per whatever. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Essentially, that I don't want to call it, a middle person, a middleman or something, because it's not. That makes it, that undervalues it. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's, this person is extremely valuable if they're doing their job right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, consultative executor.
Yeah, wow.
Nice.
Woohoo! Consultative executor. That's your new job title.
Done. LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Write it down. Right. So yeah, so for all y'all out there, do you have anything else you wanna add? Comes to mind?
I don't think so.
Consultative executor. I think we should end on that.
Works for me.
All right. So when you're interviewing, whether for your internal team, you're interviewing an agency, you're looking for a consultative executor, someone who, this is so good. I'm laughing. I'm not. It's really good. Someone who's done the work, knows the details that go into each channel, but also understands business and how the different business functions, sales, service, product, interact with marketing, such that we can all, information can flow and we can become the most efficient possible. Right?
Works for me.
Works for me. Cool. Great. So interviewing your agency, great. Another tip is to get the actual person who's going to be running your account on the phone during the sales process, as opposed to, waiting the salesperson. Because we've seen this happen. I hate it. salesperson sells you to do a great job, promise you pie in the sky, whatever, they promise you the world, and then you sign, and then you never talk to that person again. They hand you off to someone else who is surprised that you're a new client for that agency. Like, that's not how it should be. The account manager should be involved in the sale.
And
from our perspective.
I know you want to end on consultative executor.
No, that's fine.
But for anyone who's looking to get into that role,
yes.
Right. So we've talked a lot about how to find them, how to evaluate them. But anyone who's looking to get in that role, particularly for someone who has never done any of this before, right out of college, something like that, one of the best things you can challenge yourself to do, start a website and make $1.
Yeah.
Because if you can start a website and make $1, you're going to have to learn 1,000,001 things.
That's true.
1, how do websites work? 2, how do we market them so that people see them? 3, how do I create something of value that other people will buy? And 4, how do I convince them that it's something of theirs of value in the first place?
I absolutely love it. Have you done this?
I have.
Yes, he has. This guy has. I knew you had. That was an easy layup question. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And we call it evidence of hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little term we use here. Evidence of hustle is someone who is doing this stuff for themselves because they're passionate about it. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That resume will rise to the top of the list very quickly.
And yeah, that's very true. And they will soon be a consultative executor. All right.
Get it at the end.
Yeah, just stick it, that's all I'm doing. Just sticking it in. Thank you, Josh. Really appreciate it. Good stuff, man. You're leading an awesome team. I know you know that. Hopefully this was helpful to you all out there. If you like it, like it. If you don't like it, then comment. And either way, share it. Right? Because if you don't like it, share it and say, I really didn't like this.
We'll follow up to ask why.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Love the feedback. Thank you all out there. Josh Muskin. Talk to you next time.